Honest J. Nowak. Coming at you live. All right. A pleasure to meet all at last, and welcome back to Honest J. Nowak Graphix. Today, we're going to be talking about something different here when it comes to, well, games entirely. As a matter of fact, I will go on ahead and talk about both of THQ Nordic's and Rainbow's famous iconic representation of the Monster Jam universe. I'm specifically talking about Monster Jam Steel Titans. Oh yeah, we're going there. Now, as you probably have already known by now, the game is now a duology. You got Monster Jam Steel Titans from 2019 and Monster Jam Steel Titans 2 from 2021, both of which I've had the chance to play this year. So without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about the first one, obviously, first. So, I will go ahead and say first off, a modern Monster Jam game on the PlayStation 4 certainly was something that we had actually gotten with a game called Monster Jam Crush It, but that was not necessarily well received. However, THQ Nordic, which of course you remember when THQ was already the biggest ever developer and publisher for the PlayStation 2 era, had eventually come together with Rainbow. Of course, Rainbow itself is its own sort of software company, but the thing is, both of these companies had come together before them, creating the MX vs. ATV games for the PlayStation 4, including MX vs. ATV All Out, which is also something that I played for GWK Content Production. So, at this point in time, it's fair to say that both of these companies merged together. They actually do a pretty darn good job at giving us some more modernized variants of these classic games that we've had for a long time. In 2019, however, they went from MX and ATV to already well-known racing titles, series, and franchises to Monster Jam. They went on and got the rights from the Monster Jam company itself to license their trucks, their properties, and anything else they could get their hands on, and created the almighty Monster Jam Steel Titans. In 2019, I feel like that was something that I really had missed. There were actually a lot of things that I had missed in the past few years while I was gaming, so I'm more than glad to now get onto them. There's a ton of games out there that I pretty much missed out on all these years, but at this point in time, I was in fact able to play Monster Jam Steel Titans 1 as well as the sequel. But going back to the first for a little bit more, it's basically what you think it is. It's a combination of different things out there, like time trials, circuits, races, derbies, stunt competitions, and whatnot, utilizing different licensed trucks out there. Of course, you have a nice variety of trucks to pick from. In this game, you have the likes of Gravedigger, Maximum Destruction, Doomsday, Monster Mutt, and a variety of other trucks that I had never really known about myself, like Soldier's Fortune and Alien Invasion. I mean, there's a lot of obscure trucks out there that I have yet to hear about, but I'd say for a modern Monster Jam game, this was a pretty amazing way to blend the original with the modern, pretty much. A nice way to get the classics, like Monster Mutt and Gravedigger, to come up alongside some more recent incarnations of Monster Jam trucks. And the thing is, well, in my playthrough of Monster Jam Steel Titans this past January, I had never quite expected something this impressive to be put out there in the marketplace. But in all honesty, from the way that it looks and plays, it almost seems like something that's more mobile phone quality. Yeah, it's literally like a game that you could play on your phone or your tablet. Not necessarily as a PlayStation title, but I mean, what on earth do we possibly have to expect? I mean, there's a lot of PlayStation games that have utilized mobile phone or mobile device sort of titles out there, and that's probably where we're probably gonna have to draw the line here, because it seems like anybody wants to put a PS4 game out of their own sort of mobile games out there so people can play it on the big screen. It's also important to note that every time you win a race, you have yourself a certain sort of currency which you can use to either buy new trucks or upgrade the ones you already own. I will say that some of the best picks that I got of all the trucks that I basically unlocked and upgraded up to a certain point include Soldier's Fortune as well as Captain's Curse. So I consider Captain's Curse to pretty much be the best of the best that I was able to use for the first game. So I unfortunately did not necessarily play that far enough to be able to unlock other really expensive trucks like Gravedigger, but it probably doesn't matter too much because let's go ahead and move on to the sequel. Yeah, the sequel, March 2021, a time where the PlayStation 5 was already in the marketplace, but yet it turned out to be little more than a fad. It was something that almost nobody got their hands on at the time of its original release, which really leads us to the question, why does the PlayStation 5 even exist now? If it's a fad, then how are people bringing it up? But I guess that leads me to another question. If Monster Jam Steel Titans 2 was released in 2021, how on earth does THQ Nordic and Rainbow Soft not make a PlayStation 5 version for the game? It's March 2021, although right now it's October 2021. So why wouldn't you release a PlayStation 5 version of the game? It makes no sense. The PS4 is what people call outdated, even though it's something for all time, like a lot of things nowadays. To that, I don't even know what else to say about that, but what I will say for sure is that this actually is something that, believe it or not, I am currently playing right now. And as a matter of fact, if you checked out Megapix Weekly Season 2, then you would have noticed that I've already had a few segments where Monster Jam Steel Titans 2 can be seen in action. And even better is that you'll also be seeing this game in some other incarnations of the main series itself, like Mainline Season 10 and 11. So that's just pretty much what that's about. So at this point, I will go ahead and say that it's actually better than the first. For the most part, you actually have yourself an open world environment. Yeah, that seems to be the best mechanic that PS4 games are capable of, and maybe the best thing about PS4 games that I will always remember. The open world environment is not only something that's done in so many PS4 games by now, but it is certainly something that gives us a really immersive, adventurous experience. It's a way for you to explore the environment around you without potentially getting bored of any sorts. And you can discover whatever is out there. In this case, Monster Jam Steel Titans 2 does just that. You basically start off with a trainer truck, which is little more than a roll cage on a set of monster truck tires, but then eventually upgrade over to the Monster Jam stunt truck. It's as basic as possible, just a little carbon fiber thing on it, on a chassis with the tires and a Monster Jam logo on the sides. Eventually, however, there are in fact several different groupings of different monster trucks out there, from the wild cards all the way down to the crazy creatures. And each of these groups do in fact have all the different appropriate trucks pretty much put into place. For example, there's a grouping called the Undead, and it features the likes of Pirate's Curse, Captain's Curse, Zombie, and even the almighty legend itself, Gravedigger. And you know what? I actually unlocked it when I played this game. I played it long enough to unlock Gravedigger, both in its original color scheme and in the gold version. So, right off the bat, you have a much better way of being able to play as different trucks. There are certain competitions that you can play, including a long progression series that involves over 20 different chapters. This will in fact allow you to automatically unlock different trucks out there from different groups. But you can also unlock trucks from playing in competitions with certain groups, as there basically is a percentage marker that shows how far you are into unlocking the next truck that's in the group. As far as I know though, from the time that I was basically able to pretty much leave it all off, I was in fact able to unlock almost every single truck that is unlockable by playing through the actual series of events pretty much. as well as the championship long-running events, pretty much, that go alongside the main ones. So at this point in time, if I could basically label out truck names that I will certainly be big fans of at this point, I will say that my best overall pick would be a combination of both Higher Education, which is basically a school bus on top of a pair of monster truck tires, as well as Ice Cream Man, both of which are from the Wild Card series, which of course is the earliest grouping that you can in fact earn the trucks within. But there are of course many others. Backwards Bob, Whiplash, all the Monster Mutt trucks out there, including the original, the Rottweiler version, the Husky version, the Dalmatian version, and the Poodle version. And then of course you have the Demolition Crew, which includes the likes of El Toro Loco, Earthshaker, Doomsday, and all that good stuff. And then you have the Undead series, which has Captain's Curse, Pirate's Curse, Zombie, Gravedigger, Gravedigger Gold version. And finally, you have the Crazy Creatures, which includes the likes of Dragon, Megalodon, Sparkle Smash, and Jurassic Attack. So, this is an amazing array of different trucks that you can pick out. And of course the first Steel Titans game did have a large medley of these different trucks to pick out from, but like I said, the way that you unlock trucks between both games are both different. The first one, you have to earn currency that's substantial enough to be able to even afford the trucks, but here you can automatically unlock all of them. But there is something, of course, that you can also do. There are collectibles hidden inside these open world environments, and each of these groups do have their own open world to basically go through. You have Camp Crushmore, which is basically the home of the wildcard trucks, including Ice Cream Man and Higher Education. And then at some point in the game, you unlock a gate which allows you to go over towards the dog park, which of course is home to the Monster Mutt trucks, including the Husky version and Dalmatian version. And then you go over to some caverns and eventually come across a land that is in fact home to the trucks like Alien Invasion, Soldier's Fortune, and Avenger. And eventually, you head on over to the world of the Demolition Crew, known as the Wasteland. And this is where trucks like Maximum Destruction and El Toro Loco thrive in. And then eventually, you head on over to the last world, the world of the Undead. A nice spooky realm that is in fact home to the likes of Gravedigger, Son of a Digger, and Captain's Curse. But unfortunately, there is not an independent open world landscape environment for Crazy Creatures, and nor are there any sort of events that will allow you to unlock the Crazy Creatures. So the thing is that it pretty much holds your hand throughout the whole thing, allowing you to progress through all of the stages, pretty much unlocking every single truck for all the teams except for Crazy Creatures. As far as my knowledge, I was in fact able to get as far into the game as possible to unlock some of the trucks, but I ended up having to call it quits eventually. So I've been able to play it a lot recently, even earlier this morning, but Monster Jam Steel Titans 2 is way better. But for a 2021 title, I'm almost in and out with this sort of thing. But probably more importantly, for a game that's not even getting a port to the PlayStation 5, maybe because THQ Nordic and Rainbow couldn't even afford it. I don't know exactly why they're doing this, but it's just upsetting. Why wouldn't you make a PS5 port to a game released in 2021? This is where PS5 players are thriving everywhere, even though the PlayStation 5 console is little more than a fad. A literal fad. Worse than Pogs, worse than Tiger Electronic Games, worse than anything else. So, I tell you, this year is just devastatingly horrible for so many other reasons other than this. But you know what though? I'm willing to agree that Monster Jam Steel Titans might be one of the better picks if you could ever pick any game from the year 2021, no matter what it is. So, I will say though that both of these games are indeed fun. They're indeed worth playing, and they're pretty darn well suitable enough for you to spend some good hard-earned money on, no matter the cost. You could play a lot of these games for hours at a time and never get bored. I myself, I mean, there's probably a lot of stuff I could have found on there, but At this point in time, I'll probably just leave it well enough alone. And so, if you want to see more go down on my channel, then make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media, and stay on the Hollywood side.